This movie would have been better if Kitty Pryde were in it. Hey everybody, Zangetsu 134 here, and with me is...
AverageJoeSquad.
And we saw X-Men Dark Phoenix, and it sucked.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly. We're filming this today. We saw it last night. We didn't do a video right after because of some personal matters going on.
And I also want to apologize for there being like nothing on my channel for like a month. Life just got away from me. I'm gonna try and start.
We didn't even do a video for Godzilla.
No, well, that was because I couldn't keep, like, I had to, like a lot of people with me and I didn't want to leave anybody out. So, real quick, I liked Godzilla King of the Monsters. It was fun. It was stupid monster fun. The human stuff's really dumb. Hollow Earth, and the action's really good. So go see it. In fact, go see it and don't buy a ticket to see this. Go see King of the Monsters. It's way better.
Yeah. If you want to see Dark Phoenix, pirate it. Don't give them any money.
We'll also have to excuse us. We're eating our lunch as we're doing this.
Yeah. But, I guess I'll lead it off. So, for anybody that doesn't know, this is the last of the Fox X-Men movies, because Disney now owns the rights again.
Yeah.
And, I think there was some hope at first that they were going to go out on a high note. I mean, I think after Logan, everybody kind of had high hopes there'd be another good movie. Because obviously, Logan displayed that, yeah, they still... Oh, excuse me. They still had it in them. This movie is not it. And I can't even really say that, because for the backstory, they had to re-edit this movie after Captain Marvel dropped because was it the studio execs?
The studio executives.
The studio execs thought it was too similar to Captain Marvel.
I was gonna say that, like, that was from test screenings.
Yeah. I mean, and even watching it, as we did, we could still see a lot of similarities with it, and I don't know how much of that is coincidence and how much of it was planned. I imagine they were being filmed alongside each other.
I would have to imagine.
Because it was in post-production when the merger got announced, so.
I don't know if we should talk about the plot, but here's the thing.
What plot? Yeah. There was no plot. It was stupid.
So this was way before I ever started doing these vlogs. Me and some buddies, when I was in college, or no, I was just out of college, went to see a little movie called Warcraft. Because my friends were big World of Warcraft fans.
I remember when that came out. What year was that?
That was at least, I want to say 2013, 2014. And I never thought a movie could be as poorly edited as that. Where scenes just end and new scenes start, no transition scene. It's just scene, scene, scene. They barely tie together. Some scenes are cut so short that, like, you can clearly tell there was more to it. That was this movie. Like, yes, it follows some things from the book, but, like, it's so choppily edited, I barely could tell what was going on. Like, that was how badly this movie is edited.
I've said this probably 1,000 times since getting home last night, and I've said this to everybody that's listened to me. As a Jean Grey fan, I'm actually wearing my Phoenix necklace right now. I was really insulted by this movie because, I mean, maybe I'm taking it too personal because I love the Dark Phoenix comic book storyline. That was actually probably one of the first X-Men comics I ever read. And honestly, I would argue it's probably one of the better ones. I would say this and Days of Future Past are probably the best. But
honestly, most of the stuff Chris Claremont wrote for the X-Men is probably the best stuff. Like, I know people will probably say Stan Lee did some good stuff, but honestly, most of the stuff people know is from Chris Claremont.
But basically, this movie's plot, it felt so forced. It felt so disjointed, and, like, it's a shame, really, because, like I said, they could have went out on a very high note.
Yeah. You know, you could have...
I mean, granted, they've done Dark Phoenix before, kinda with X-Men 3, but, like, even this, if you know the comic book storyline, this doesn't really follow it whatsoever. It's like a totally separate... It reads really... when you watch it, it almost feels like a really, really, really bad fanfic.
Yeah. So, I know we probably haven't said much, but spoilers, if you want to go see this movie, which why?
Yeah, why would you want to waste the money?
Especially after we started with saying this movie sucks.
Yeah, listen, when we were in the theater, and he can verify this, we came out of the theater, and I literally said, I thought Amazing Spider-Man 2 was better than this movie. I hate that movie with a passion.
I thought The Dark Knight Rises, and he can tell you,
I've heard enough rants.
We're gonna do a Nolan Zangetsu Talks podcast once I can get a camera that runs longer than 40 minutes, lets me film for longer than 40 minutes. Which I need to get out my camcorder, but like, this movie is so incoherent. And this is the one part I tell you how I knew this movie was chopped to crap. So, after a scene where Jean loses her mind, like goes crazy using the Phoenix Force and kills somebody, it shows like them having the funeral.
Which was also insulting because they literally just bury her in the backyard like a dog, which was so...
Yeah, I said that last night.
Yeah, just a quick spoiler, sorry to interject. After Jean kind of loses her mind, she accidentally kills Mystique and then, like, runs away. And so that's kind of like... It leads into another subplot, which we'll get into later, that absolutely makes no sense.
And is just...
So out of character.
Yeah. But you have that, and then all of a sudden you cut to Jean sitting in an alleyway
in the
rain, trying to get the blood off her clothes from killing Mystique, and then all of a sudden smash cut to this random island. And I say random island, it's Genosha, but like
we're both sitting there like, what where is this?
Yeah, no, all of a sudden we're at Genosha.
Because, you know, we gotta have Magneto in this, even though it makes absolutely no sense.
Like, people always complained about the Donner Superman films always having to put Lex Luthor into stuff. Magneto's in, like, every single X-Men movie. Whether or not it makes sense. And it's so...
Isn't he in Origins Wolverine?
He's not in Origins Wolverine. That's, like, one of the few movies...
He's in, like, almost every other one.
They do have terribly CGI'd in Professor Xavier in that, where his head's really bizarrely shaped because of that, but...
Yeah. But yeah, it's so choppily edited. I mean, my exact words were, I've seen high school video production stuff that looks better.
I have a student film on my YouTube channel that looks better than those.
I could have edited that movie better with Windows freaking Movie Maker.
No.
At least I know about transitions. Like, seriously.
Oh no, I agree with you.
Like a dissolve here or there would have helped.
No, it's so odd. So like, the main plot is basically it's 1992.
Well, it starts out in 75. It shows Jean when she's about 9 years old, and she accidentally kills her mom.
Yeah, she develops her mutant powers at that time, which is weird because I thought it's supposed to be like puberty when they.
Jean, she was a lot younger. Like, she was very, very young when it happened in the comics.
And
I don't want to say she was even younger in the comics. I want to say she was like 6.
I thought she was like 10, but I can't remember.
I thought it was 6. I'd have to go home and look. I'm not an expert by any means.
Yeah, same. So, basically, her psychic powers develop and she accidentally turns the radio. And I think it's implying that, like, the Phoenix Force has always kind of been looking for her, because when she's in the car, she starts hearing all these voices in her head. And I thought maybe that was supposed to be, like, that it was actually, like, the Phoenix Force going off in her head, not that it was her mutant powers going haywire. But basically, she says, be quiet, and it knocks her mom unconscious, who's driving the car. Right
into an oncoming vehicle. And it kills her instantly. It hurts her dad really bad, but her dad lives.
Well, the film implies that, like, they both die, even though you can see her father moving, which I will admit that if that was a filmmaking thing, that was kind of genius, where you can kind of see him move a little.
Yeah.
And basically, Professor Xavier comes to her in the hospital and he tells her that her parents passed away. And more or less, I will admit, does like this cute scene where he offers to take her in and teach her how to use her powers so that she doesn't have to hurt people. And that if she breaks something, he'll fix it. Which, fair enough. It's that's probably like the best scene in the movie.
It really is.
Where Professor Xavier is helping Jean and doing so in a way that
makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah. But
isn't vaguely pedophilish.
Yeah.
Based on some comic book storylines.
I love you, Gene, but I know you can never love me because I'm an old man in a wheelchair. Like, really, Stan? That was what you decided on for his character. And to be fair, even though that's not in here, this movie still has probably some of the Professor Xavier is an utter monster scenes in it. But we'll get there. So, the film proper takes place in 1992. So, in 3 years from now, a Kree warrior will crash through a blockbuster and will try to fight a bunch of alien surfers. But basically, a ship is launched from NASA, and due to solar flares.
How the hell? It's NASA. How could NASA not know what solar flares are?
When we get up to space,
funding at that point.
When we get up to space, what you see is clearly not a solar flare. It looks like the Galactus cloud from Fantastic Four 2.
My God, it actually does.
Although, to be fair, you say they have funding.
I didn't think about that. That actually does, now I think about it.
You say they have funding. That control center looks like the one that was used in Apollo 13.
They reused that set from something. I don't know what that was from, but they reused that. That was not a built set. That was something they took from something else.
Feel free to tell me if I'm wrong and they were still using the same tech that got us to the moon in the 60s.
I
doubt it.
No.
I highly doubt it.
That shit looked ancient.
And
that was like Apollo missions type stuff.
And then later, when we see the news of the shuttle stuck in space, they cut to a newsman who's doing it in front of a curtain that looks like it's from the 60s again. I was so confused by the date stuff in this. Even though I saw it said it was 1992. I'm like, really? Because it looks like we're back at first class again.
Yeah, they had to reuse sets. I'm calling that right now.
So the president calls Professor Xavier on his line that they have, his secure line that Professor Xavier has to the president. Which, I mean, fair, but...
And we're at the part of the movie now that we both thought actually made sense. To a certain degree. This is the part of the movie that is actually probably the most solid thing in the movie because it actually is somewhat... intelligible as a movie?
Yeah.
It all goes downhill from here.
Yeah, so Professor Xavier has Beast modify the Blackbird to go into space. The Blackbird, a stealth bomber, goes into space.
It's not a stealth bomber.
I thought it was a stealth
bomber. It's a reconnaissance plane.
A stealth plane. A plane
it's a reconnaissance plane.
Goes into
space.
It's a
reconnaissance plane designed for high altitude, so it at least makes a little bit of sense.
A plane goes into space.
Well, man,
I'm pretty sure they confused the Blackbird with a Quinjet.
Well, if Captain Marvel could do it, why not this?
Because it was a Quinjet! They're built to do that! If it were the Bat plane, I could buy that, because he does that!
What about the invisible plane?
Well, I mean, it is magical, but... So, the ship is, spinning in space. I forget what's wrong with it.
Thrusters are stuck.
Yeah.
Side thrusters or whatever.
And, there's a tear in the hull, so, the atmosphere of the ship is funneling out. They use Storm to control it, because Storm can control weather in the vacuum of space.
Are we gonna talk about Scott using his beam?
I forget why he has to use the beam, actually.
He uses it to hit the thing and slow it down.
Yeah.
It's spinning way too crazy for Kurt to get into.
He can't
see in the window.
Instead of any sort of weaponry on the Blackbird, they cause Cyclops' seat to move. It goes underneath the hull. There's this little visor thing that goes up to his face like he's playing a Virtual Boy. And then they shoot his optic blast out of it to hit the ship. Props
this
to them
is the part of the movie that makes sense.
Props to them doing something cool. And I get it, the X-Men do stuff like that.
That made
you
no
really
sense,
couldn't put any weapons in it though. You couldn't have put in a small explosive missile that you could use to lightly stop it.
All I could think of was the scene. Have you ever seen Pearl Harbor, the movie?
The Michael Bay one?
Yeah. You know the part at the end with the Doolittle raid where they're trying to get the bombers to go off the aircraft carrier and they're too heavy, so they have to keep taking stuff off of it, like weapons and everything. I almost wonder if it's like that. Like they had to take stuff out of the Blackbird for it to even get off the ground.
That would make sense to me.
But even then, it's a Blackbird. Literally, it's a freaking Blackbird. It shouldn't have that problem.
Like, okay, so I forgot we should probably talk about who the X-Men, what the team is in this. The team is led by Mystique and Beast, and I know they call her Raven.
It's Mystique. He calls her by her real name.
The other team members consist of a young Cyclops, Quicksilver, Jean, and Nightcrawler.
Storm.
Storm.
Yeah, Storm.
I thought I said Storm, but forgive me if I didn't say Storm.
I thought you did, but...
Well, I did say at one point she was controlling the hull, but... And so, basically, they hold it in space, and they want to get Nightcrawler... Oh yeah, that's why they stopped the ship, because Nightcrawler couldn't see into the windows, because part of the reason Nightcrawler's abilities work is he needs to be able to picture where he's going, so he has to be able to see. So they get to stop so he can see, so he can get into the ship, and rescue, the spacemen.
That's why they got him blindfolded in the actual Dark Phoenix thing when they're all captured by the Hellfire Club.
Yeah, because he can't see where they are, so he can't teleport. So him and Quicksilver warp over to the ship, which this is gonna be important when we get to like the stuff with Mystique, because that's a big problem. Basically, they warp over, and Quicksilver, using his super speed, grabs everybody and has them hang on to Nightcrawler. Once that happens, Nightcrawler warps everybody over. The captain's still on board because he's trying to hold the ship. Meanwhile, this solar flare...
That's actually the freaking Phoenix Force.
I know, but at this point, they don't know what that is.
Come on, anybody and their mother with a single grain of comic book knowledge knew that was the freaking Phoenix Force.
It's slowly ripping the ship apart. So... Nightcrawler's like, if we get Jean over there, she can use her powers to hold the ship long enough for me to get the captain and we can get out. I don't know why they didn't take Quicksilver with them as well, because...
Well, remember, Mystique was even ready to leave at that point. She's like, no, we're not...
We're not risking young lives. I know, but like, again, Quicksilver could just go over there. Like, I know he's not as fast as the Flash.
Yeah.
But he's pretty close.
Yeah.
So...
It would have made so much more sense.
So Mystique gives them 30 seconds, which I'm like... That's a ridiculously small amount of time for them to do this, but okay. And so she has the Blackbird's egg timer start, because Beast put that in there for some reason. And so they get over there, and Nightcrawler's only able to get to the captain and himself out.
He almost gets the Jean, but he runs out of time.
Yeah, he almost gets the Jeans. He runs out of time, so he ports out just because it...
Well, it's not even that. Remember, the solar flare hits, and it throws him backwards.
Like,
he can't get to her at that point.
Well, no, but I also want to say it also kind of makes him activate the port thing on reflex.
Yeah.
Which, of course, we get the Cyclops. Where's Jean? I kind of wish it was like the X-Men animated series where he just starts screaming for Jean. Because that's the only thing I remember about Cyclops from that cartoon.
Well, and I mean, there's this scene
and his issues with his space dad.
Yeah, the solar flare hits the ship, and... It basically starts going into Jean, and then it kind of starts going out towards the Blackbird, and she uses her powers to get all of it to come over to where she's at. She basically absorbs all of it.
Yeah, and disintegrates the spaceship, and then she's just floating in the vacuum of space.
So they have Kurt go out and get her.
Yeah, which is hilarious because they just put one of the astronauts' helmets on his head and duct tape it to him.
This is like so funny. That was one of the only things in this movie that was humorous to me was that, because it was so
stupid. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
That's not how space helmets work, but especially because he's also not wearing you need the whole suit or else the vacuum will cause you to boil.
Yeah.
So they get her back, and Professor Xavier goes off to have a banquet with the president to, help with mutant-human relations. And through all this, Mystique is all cranky because she thinks that they're just expendable to Charles, because basically that they're just there to risk their lives for humans to make themselves look better. And we get this annoying scene where she talks about how they should change the name from X-Men to X-Women because the women save the men a lot around here. Never mind that it was Nightcrawler and Quicksilver doing most of the work for that.
Yeah, I mean, and
Cyclops, who shot the ship.
I mean, I consider myself a feminist, and even I was like, that made no
Like,
no sense.
literally, they just did it to make her angry enough so that you would not mind that she got killed by Mystique, or by Jean later on.
Pretty much.
So, while all this is going on, the teen student X-Men, the teen teacher X-Men, you know, Cyclops, and the younger ones, decide to have a night party behind the X-Manor.
Dazzler shows up for like 3 seconds.
Yeah, she's singing like pop music, and she's just there in her disco suit, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize like Dazzler was still in her disco outfit.
You forgot the best part about the whole party.
Oh.
Storm is basically an ice machine.
Oh yeah. Like they have booze, which I'm like, this is a school, right? Why do you guys have alcohol on school grounds?
This is even a point brought up in X-Men 2, because Wolverine even asked about it.
And I get that maybe the kids aren't drinking, but like Jean is clearly knocking back a lot of alcohol. Because later on, Beast like examines her, and he notices that her like the readings of her mutant power is off the charts.
And we get this almost sex scene with her and Scott.
Oh yeah, where like she gets out of her X-Men jacket, and I almost thought that was what we were gonna get to.
Yeah, same here. I was like, are we getting a sex scene in this? Like that's I was like, that's really not necessary at all.
Yeah, but then it just peters off.
Yeah, it goes nowhere.
Like everything in this film. So while this is going on, like aliens that are I think supposed to be the Kree or the Shi'ar, or like a race like the Vok, come to Earth because they've tracked the solar flare that wiped out their... In fact, I don't even think they call it the Phoenix Force in this. The only time she gets called Phoenix is apparently one of the students called her that because she came back to life.
She's never once called that whatsoever.
Yeah, that's the closest you get.
They talk about it being a power, that's about it.
No. Some cosmic energy.
Power.
Yeah.
The cosmic power. They don't call it the Phoenix Force. Almost probably the same reason they don't call the Fantastic Four in the 2015 movie. It's because they're embarrassed that this is the movie it's in.
We really are on a time limit, so I think we probably should just start talking about the crap that doesn't make sense.
The whole movie?
Yeah. Basically...
The whole movie.
Yeah, so basically it turns out Jean's father isn't alive, or isn't dead, so this is where we start getting to see that Xavier really is kind of stupid. And, like,
he basically put all these blocks and all these walls up around stuff to protect her, which is what he does in the comics.
But
they have it in this as being so badly described and badly shown.
No. Basically, her dad couldn't handle her being a mutant.
So he basically gave her away.
Yeah. But she doesn't know that. So she goes to visit her dad and notices some pictures of her on the walls.
And there's just pictures of the dead wife.
And she basically says, you know, when she died, you died with her. And I'm like,
wow.
Literally,
as soon as we got to that scene, I even looked at him and I'm like, this is not gonna end well.
No.
I'm calling this right now. She's gonna flip out right in this scene.
And so this is technically the second time she like loses control. She loses control during the party, and I think it's supposed to be implied that it's because
it's just because there was so much. There was all the sparks and stuff from the fires.
Well, I also want to say it also didn't help that the Vok invaded.
Yeah.
Like, you could sense them coming. And so the X-Men find her, because Charles knows where they have to go, even though she's so powerful Cerebro can't detect her.
Yeah, he can't get in her mind anymore.
Yeah, he can't also get into her mind with Cerebro. Which, I don't think is how Cerebro works, but okay. So the X-Men try to calm her down, which leads into a big fight. Mystique finally tries talking her down, and then that's where Mystique gets murdered as, like, her psychic powers knock her into a piece of, like, wall that's there, and it just...
It's almost like what happened to Logan
yeah.
in the end of the movie. He gets impaled.
Like... And it's so needlessly cruel.
Yeah, it's graphic, too.
Yeah.
Like, they don't show a lot, but what they do show is graphic, and it's like, holy crap.
Which causes Beast to go on a vendetta against her.
I'm gonna kill Jean. I'm like, okay, no offense, I get Beast is mad, but that makes no sense at all.
Like, he's justifiably mad at Xavier because this is basically his fault.
But at the same time, so anyway, while all this is happening, Jean runs away. She goes to, I can't remember that name.
Genosha.
Yeah, she goes to Genosha to talk to Magneto. And the government shows up because the government's mad now.
Because the government decides that they're going to, start up mutant internment camps, and
it's basically Days of Future Past. They bring all this stuff back, and all this, they mention like, oh, there's all this work, and all these people love the X-Men. No, it's done. No, we don't support it anymore. It's like turn of a dime, and it's so jarring.
Yeah, they also cut off the phone to Professor Xavier, the one man who knows how to deal with mutants.
Yeah, we even said it during the movie. It's so jarring, and it really shows how bad the editing is. It's so jarring.
Because all of a sudden, and I know people are going to be like, well, this is like real life with the immigration problems and stuff. That still took time.
Yeah.
Congress does a lot of terrible stuff.
As a history major, that made no sense.
I know Congress does a lot of terrible stuff, but they still have to work through red tape. There was no red tape for this.
So basically, I'm trying to give the cliff notes. Jean goes to Magneto. Magneto's like, well, whose blood is that? And the government shows up, and Magneto tries to defuse it, make them leave, but then Jean comes out, destroys one of the helicopters, starts trying to destroy the other one.
Yeah, Magneto tries to stop it with his magnet powers.
He tells all the rest of the soldiers, get on the helicopter, and he throws it away.
That was so dumb. I'm like,
yeah, that was so dumb.
Yeah, get on the helicopter that's slowly going out of control.
Yeah.
I see no problems with that.
And then he tells Jean to leave. So she leaves. And then the aliens that have invaded, they find her, and she's at a bar disguised as an old man, which was weird. Yeah, which is weird. This is that, so they show up, and they convince her, they're all going to try to kill you because they don't understand you, and they fear you, and we don't. We don't, normal manipulation tactics.
Mutant symbolism for prejudice.
But so basically, Beast goes to Magneto, and he tells him what happened, and of course Magneto gets pissed, and he's like, I'm going to kill her.
Well, no, Hank goes to her.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said Beast.
Sorry, I thought you said my bad.
No, anyways, Beast goes to Magneto. Magneto, he tells Magneto Raven's dead,
Yeah.
And Magneto's just instantly gets mad, and he's like, after a huge spiel about how many people I put in the ground, and it never made me feel better. He instantly is like, if I find her, I'm going to kill her. It's like, did you believe anything you told her at all?
And the best part is, he tells all that to Beast.
And Beast is like, I know. I'm like...
Well, not only that, he goes to get out his Magneto helmet, and then right after that, Professor Xavier knows where to go because he read their minds.
Yeah.
Magneto, you have a helmet that protects your mind from telepathic intrusion. Tell Beast you have a plan. Don't tell him what it is. And wear the helmet the whole time.
It's so dumb. So basically, they go.
They park the Blackbird in Central Park.
They park the Blackbird in Central Park while the government is looking for everybody.
And that
made no sense.
I know it's a stealth plane, but that attracts nothing.
Yeah, seriously. So anyway, they all show up, and of course, Xavier, Cyclops, Storm, and Kurt all show up as well. There's this big fight scene between them, Magneto's people, and Beast. Magneto does this stupid scene where he rips a subway car out of the ground. Yeah, he spends most of
the fight just trying
and he lodges it against the door, and it makes no sense why he did that.
Especially because,
granted, he's blocking the door, but he could have done that with anything else, and it would have made sense.
But here's the problem. Subway cars have doors on both sides.
Yeah, seriously.
And I know that they're locked, vacuum sealed. Cyclops is there.
So anyway, Magneto goes in. He has this face-off with Jean.
Jean shatters his helmet.
Yeah, Jean literally annihilates him within a minute and a half.
It's amazing.
Destroys the helmet. Yeah, and basically almost kills him. So then.
Also, Storm is useless in this fight.
Yeah, really.
Storm is useless in this whole movie,
and it makes no sense.
Despite the fact that she's the most useful.
So finally, Xavier and Kurt get in there, and for anyone who is disabled, this scene is so offensive.
Yeah, I
already saw people on Tumblr being very offended and upset by it. I don't blame them because I even told him when we watched it.
Yeah.
Not only is that messed up, but that's really, really just disgusting.
And out of character for Jean. Even if she's gone evil, she wouldn't do that.
Basically, Xavier tries once again to get through to Jean and is like, I told you you can do anything you set your mind to. You can beat this. And she's like, then walk. and she uses her powers to like make him walk up the stairs, and it's so disgusting.
Yeah, and it's
watch.
really horrific. I'm
it really is.
That...
If I watch it, I'm just like, I don't care how out of her mind Jean, when she's the Phoenix, is. That makes no sense whatsoever, at all.
And so
he basically. I'm sorry to keep cutting it. I'm trying to get to the plot real quick.
Yeah, no, because we only have so much time.
Yeah, basically, so he's basically like, I can't read your mind anymore, but look in mine. You know what I mean? So she does, and lo and behold, there's this huge thing, and finally, like,
yeah, basically, she
snaps out of it, and the alien is like, they're gonna kill you or something, and she's like. Yeah, then take the power.
I don't want it anymore.
And so she starts giving it to the alien, and Charles notices, like, you're taking too much, you're going to kill her. And the alien's like, I don't care. Yeah. Your lives mean nothing to me.
Yeah, she's basically going to wipe every human being off on the face of the planet and restart their race there.
So basically,
Cyclops comes in and knocks her out.
And basically, Jean's unconscious, but then the military comes in because they've been capturing everybody else. They stun everybody else, capture them, and they get them on a train to take this internment camp. And it leads into the final little battle of the movie.
Which is on a train. The whole fight is on a train, which I will admit, it looks cool. And there's some cool moments.
It's at least a cool scene, but
it's not very satisfying.
It's this big fight scene, and Xavier convinces Magneto and Beast, this isn't what Raven would want, so don't do this. Then the rest of the aliens all show up because they're hell-bent on taking Jean back. And there's like a bunch of soldiers. The first group goes into their car, despite everybody, like including Magneto, being like, you need to set us free. We're the only ones that are going to help you here.
And eventually they convince a guy to let them out. And there's a big fight scene. Xavier and Cyclops rush to get to her. To get to Jean, who's in another car, who's like strapped down, has like an inhibitor on her head.
She has the inhibitor on her neck.
And head.
Yeah, and basically, Charles tries getting into her mind, and he does. He goes to this, what Jean calls, I guess, the happy place in her head. And it's
where she's like a little girl in it.
Yeah, it's basically it's like that, and he explains to her, like, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you like this. I just wanted to give you everything you deserve. And Jean's like, well, like, you mean a family? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, and she's like, I know what I need to do now. I need to protect my family.
And so
then she's just obliterates all these restraints.
Yeah, she could have done that any time.
Yeah, she just didn't want to. So then, like, it leads into the final battle where basically she rips the train apart.
She disintegrates the aliens.
She disintegrates all of them except 5, and then they die pretty shortly after. Yeah, and she just obliterates them.
And then the lead Vok, who
has some of the Phoenix Force,
tries to take it from her, but then this time it makes her disintegrate. Like, I never thought about that. Like, this time it makes her disintegrate.
Yeah, they shoot up into space, and, because the other one is like, your loved ones are your weakness, and Jean's like, no, they're my strength. So they shoot up into space, and they disintegrate into a big Phoenix flare.
And then
it shows this scene where Beast is the head of the school now, and it's renamed the Jean Grey Institute for Higher Learning, for Gifted Youngsters. And Charles is off somewhere. It's in England because I told you that was a Citroën.
Was Paris at one point.
Yeah, because he thought maybe they were using a wrong style of car, and I'm like, it's a Citroën. That's how they all look. Well, to be fair,
it was because it looked like it was from the 60s.
That's how they all look. That's how that design
was why I was so thrown off. And again, like, this movie has some weird anachronisms to it.
Yeah, but basically, and then Magneto shows up, and he's like, how about a game of chess? I'm going to save your life, Charles. We're going to play a game of chess. That's how the movie ends.
Oh, no.
And they sequel bait.
The sky, and you see a phoenix flying through the air. And I'm like...
They sequel bait for a movie that is never going to happen. That is never going to happen.
We didn't even stay to see if there was a scene after.
Oh, my God. No, I even told him, I don't care if there's end credits, we're leaving. I can't watch any more of this. I'm not sitting through the credits.
Yeah. And that's X-Men... Like, it's such a blatant mess. There's some good action in it, but it's so...
There's some good... And God bless the actors and the actresses. They really tried.
Although Cyclops has the most poutiest lips I've ever seen on a dude. And I'm not saying that... Like, his lips are, like, really... really thick. And it's weird because, like... I guess part of it's because, like, you can't see his eyes. So, like, you focus on his nose and mouth. Or at least I did. That might just be me. But, yeah, like... As someone who's not even into the X-Men, this movie was just a chore to get through.
As a Jean Grey fan, I'm insulted.
And I liked First Class.
I'm really insulted.
I liked the First Class film. I thought that was actually a pretty solid movie.
I mean, you could ask him What were my 2 reactions that I posted to the post you made about it?
Oh, he was sad and angry at the same time. He was mad.
I was showing clips of Jean from X-Men 3, one where she's crying, and then the next one is her flipping out. Yeah. I don't want to fix it. I'm like, he's like, I want to destroy it.
And for me, the biggest problem is the fact that they want to try and do Cosmic Phoenix instead of like how it was in 3, where it's like a split personality for her. But they don't even, like, I don't remember any of the other X-Men films implying that there are aliens out there.
No.
And don't get me wrong, I know, because it's hard to do the alien stuff with the X-Men, just because the X-Men do so much stuff. Like, I made a joke that, like, this movie would have been better if it was about Jubilee becoming a vampire, because that's happened too.
Yeah, basically, my final opinion, 0 out of 5. I feel stupider for having watched it. May God have mercy on all our souls.
You know, this movie's a mess. I can't even recommend, like, Netflixing it when it comes out.
Like I said, if you want to watch it pirated, don't give them any money. They don't deserve any money for this.
I almost want to say, wait and see if there's a director's cut of this film.
The Snyder Cut. Release the Snyder Cut.
Like, I say that, but, like, I actually would be curious to see if this movie had, like 20 minutes of deleted scenes, just because it feels like there was so much cut from this movie.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't mind seeing it if it had the original ending. But yeah, in general, that's our final thoughts. It was a mess. It clearly was made because they didn't care, or the executives were like, you know, we're not going to spend a lot of money on this. This is going to be the last one. And
it basically, the entire X-Men franchise, as done by Fox, died with a whimper.
Not a bang. So yeah, guys, that's our thoughts on this movie. I think it's probably also the most negative review we've ever done.
Yeah, like, honestly, this movie was terrible.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to try and get back into watching Kamen Rider Zeo. I know I'm super behind, but, you know, just try to bear with me as we get through it. I'm not sure when the next Average Zangetsu podcast will be out. We tried filming one a while ago, but we were using a new camera, and the camera didn't save any of it. We talked for, like, a solid hour, and it was so good, but it didn't save. So, until then, guys, I'm Zangetsu 134.
AverageJoeSquad.
And we'll catch you guys next time. Until then, take care.